Now we're still with Mr. Babak Emamian, and let me here ask you, sir, a year in and summer promised economic revival, but growth remains sluggish. What's going on there?
Well, again, you bring an important point. The reason why after a year the economy is sluggish, no improvement, is because the Labour Party, Keir Starmer government, has no plan for economy, has no plan for uh, industry, and no plan for international trade or international inward investment. That's the problem. Allow me to just give you an example. Uh, 28 years ago, uh, the policy came along which set the interest rate, the central bank interest rate, at 2% for inflation. They said the central banks are responsible to make sure that the inflation stays around 2% at 2% or just below it. That was set in 1998. And nobody asked why the 2% inflation figure? Why not 1.8? Why not 2.2? Where did this figure 2% has come from? Now, in order to achieve that 2% inflation target, a number of times that UK economy has been crashed just in order to achieve that inflation target. Now, if you go prior to 1998, the range was between 1% to 4%. So the range that inflation could float was between 1 to 4%, and it was fine. But since 1998, when this arbitrary figure of 2% suddenly became a religion, and when something becomes a religion, nobody asks question, has been responsible for crashing economy so many times, which brings it now. The reason why the economy is not picking up because the interest rates are too high, because the central bank of England, the Bank of England, is trying to achieve that 2% target, and yet the government is not proposing any new ideas or changing this target to a range between 1 to 4%, because realistically, the intellectualism to challenge that 2%, it is not there.
Right. Labour's approval has dropped behind Reform UK. Is this a policy failure or a communication breakdown?
It's people's rejection of politicians more than anything else. People are going for anything. And sometimes people are so fed up that they make decisions that ends up to their self-destruction, as we saw in Germany in 1933. So there is that issue right now. The people in the United Kingdom are so fed up with the political class that they just try one after another without actually considering what they would do. So it becomes more of a trial and error than actually trying to assess who is the best for the country to be led.
The Chancellor emotional moment Parliament reflects rising internal pressure. Are we seeing a leadership crisis?
Well, it goes if somebody cannot handle the pressure, they should not be in that position. That's just natural law that people who are in a position, especially important position, they should be able to handle the pressure. If they cannot handle the pressure, whether it's a surgeon or somebody else, they shouldn't be in charge of in that position. Ironically, the Labour Party cabinet, it is so weak that Rachel Reid, the Chancellor, is the most competent member of that cabinet. Yet she cannot handle the pressure. But if she leaves the cabinet, the average in the cabinet would be even lower, and this may result in instability in the government, and it may lead to higher interest in the bond market. So we all end up paying higher interest. So that's ironic that we are led by weak leaders and we cannot dislodge them, because if we dislodge them, it becomes even worse.
Right. Summer's immigration strategy has led to some reduction in net migration, but boat arrivals are up. Is his border plan working?
Well, border plan accounts for about 30 to 40,000 illegal immigrants. The rest of it, again, I go back, is to demand and supply. So 2 years ago, the demand and supply was more. So it was 700,000. Last year was a bit lower. It was 400,000. Next year, we go back to 500,000. So the idea of Prime Minister Keir Starmer can claim that he is taking steps to control the immigration, especially on the labor side. It's not there. It is not a fact. It's not true.
Right. Uh, the NHS remains a major pain point. Why has progress been so slow despite its being a core issue?
You've got to explain that to me a little bit more.
I'm sorry.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Ah, yes, definitely I would. The NHS remains a major pain point. Now, why has progress been so slow despite its being the core of the campaign?
NHS is the fifth largest employee in entire world. The first being the United States Army, then the Chinese Army, then Walmart in USA, then McDonald's, and then NHS. So NHS is the largest, fifth largest employee in the entire world. If we look at the list of previous four, which two were armies, one was United States Army and the other one China Army. The other two are private sectors, Walmart and McDonald's restaurants. Now, NHS is being run as a public sector.
Are we speaking on the same wavelength? We're speaking here about the NHS, which is the National Health Sector.
Yes.
Right.
It's NHS
Right.
is the fifth largest employee in the entire world. Yes, NHS. I'm just saying it's an extremely large organization, yet it's being run by governmental department. It's being run as public sector rather than private sector. So inevitably there is lots of inefficiencies, and there has to be a different model, perhaps a mixed model of private and public sector running NHS. But that is another thing that it's very difficult because the public are so used to a national health service.
You mean here that the public sector is not able to carry out with its duties towards the health system in Britain? This is what you're saying here? They are not able or they're not competent of doing their work, and they need the private sectors. This is what you're saying here, because most of Europe, their national health sector is run by the British, by their own governments.
Yes, I'm saying it's not as efficient as a private sector company rather than a public sector entity. NHS is a public sector entity. And it's been proven many times before that when you have a public sector entity, there will be inefficiency because there is no incentives for the management to run it better. And there is that issue. It's just a matter of facts that private sectors in general are much more efficient than public sectors. And especially something on such scale, it's a huge operation. It's the fifth largest employee in entire world. Employs something about 1.5 to 1.6 million people. So it's a huge employee. And as a massive budget, with a massive budget. So it is very difficult to run it efficiently. It is not possible.
Interesting what you're saying here, Mr. Mamtian. Let me here go to my next question. And business leaders have criticized new payroll taxes and worker mandates. Has labor alienated industry too soon?
Then, I mean, to just answer your question generally, it's just, again, higher taxes and more regulations. It's instead of lower taxes and less regulation. That's what we get. And this is what happens with left-of politics. They love to add a layer of government to everything. They think more government is solution to everything. So if you have a problem, so this is what we are facing: high taxation and high regulation.
So, with little headroom left politically or fiscally or economically, whatever you name it, what must Labour urgently fix to regain momentum before the next election?
Okay, I'm going to give you a general answer to this, and it's a very important question you're asking. A leader of a country, so somebody, for example, you be a leader of a country. Your first duty is not the management of the country, because the country is already being managed by the civil servants, by the civil service. So your duty is to bring in investment into your country. That would be your first duty, to promote your country in a way that money comes into it.
I suppose the leader is the head of the executive system, and he is supposed to supervise all the actions of the executive body at large, not just to attract investment, but also to oversee the plans and programs put by his own government, and oversee the implementation and supervise that.
No, I agree with you. That's the duty of the leader, to make sure
He
everything.
administer, right?
Yes, but the purpose is not for him to do that. The reason why he does that, in order to attract more investment into the country. So you go back into ancient times, the kings, the pharaohs, whoever, they wanted to make sure.
I'm running out of time, so I need a.
He's not that person.
Mr. Babak Emamian, we thank you so much for your insights and for joining us today from London.